Hey, Rambo.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Not good.
Not great.
No.
So we flipped. Now you're highly ill. Last time I was dealing with what I thought to be was a major, I called it minor, but it was pretty horrific case of food poisoning. And now you've got the same. What's going on, bud?
Yeah, I don't know if it's food poisoning or not, but yeah, it's not often. I don't feel like I get ill that often, but
It just came on. Okay, so I'm so curious. I said mine was food poisoning. I have kind of a larger theory. I recently talked to Les Luther, and he had the same. He kind of went through the same thing. I mean, we're all spread out really, really far. But tell me about yours. What did it feel like to your body system?
weak. I'm very weak
Yeah.
and tired, like lack of sleep as well. Do you know? I feel like I didn't really, Joe, where you're like kind of asleep, but you don't know if you slept or not. Do you know? It's just
Right.
like
Right. I had the feeling that
sweats and
yes, like your battery, like whatever battery system the human body exists as, whatever energy storage device that we are able to maintain within ourselves, it just stops working for this time. And like I felt that I ran to 0.0% battery and that,
that's how I find I feel now. I'm on like 2% battery now.
oh
Just
my
But do you
God.
know, we were talking about sugar. That's kind of the only thing that a sugary drink is the only thing that's kind of feeling good at the minute for me. Do you know?
Right? And what is sugar? It's energy. You said this last time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what is
That's
sugar?
it's kind of
It's a
helped me out
crystal.
recently. It's
Yeah.
been 2 days though. Do you know that's with things. It's like it's been
Yeah.
2 days. Do you know, like
Mine lasted about, okay, so mine set on like on a Friday. I woke up, went to bed on Thursday feeling okay, I wasn't sick. Woke up on Friday feeling like all of every single ion, every single energetic property that had ever existed within me had left my body, was gone. I couldn't retain. The feeling of you can't get
hard
out
to
of
even
bed, you
stand
can't
up.
move,
Yeah,
can't even
that's
stand up. I felt like I was being such a prima donna, but I wasn't. My body, I literally couldn't. I mean, there were times you're talking to me now. Kudos to you, because I remember the sensation of I can't maintain a conversation. I can't even talk. I can't
yeah. It's
even.
like my mind's like cloud that you can't
Oh yeah.
concentrate. That's how I kind of feel. Like you can't concentrate on things. You know, I can't even look at my phone screen. That's another thing.
Oh
Look at my phone screen. It's
yeah.
like I get, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna pass out. You know.
Yeah. Well, you realize the light that we take in through our phone screens, it's actually a draining light. We are being pulled. Energy is being pulled from us through our through our eye systems, more so than we're receiving. It's actually draining. It can drain you to look at a screen. It can drain you, and we don't realize that. And you really do. You do realize that when your system is in this state of emergency low battery system, you're way more sensitive to all these energetic pulls and triggers and this and that. And even looking at the phone screen feels like an immovable mountain. I couldn't do it either. I had to take, which was good. It's let's be honest, it's good. It's good to take a break from our screens, from your computer screens, from TV, from the God in your pocket, from your phone.
Yeah.
We blast that light into our eyes 24/7. We rarely get respite from our screens. And bigger, broader picture, what are our screens? I've said this once, I'll say it again. Screens are a method of concealment. What do you put up when you don't want someone to see what you're doing? You put up a screen. It's a fence. Essentially, the concept of screens is something. It's a concealment device, and we are getting all of our most quote unquote important information from screens, from concealment
And you
devices.
can't seem to escape them either. Even if you
No.
go anywhere you go, there's kind of like something on. Do you know, like
Yeah.
it's hard to kind of escape the screen.
Yeah. The amount of false light out there, the amount of like diode illumination, these tiny little red, blue, and green diodes, just trillions upon trillions upon trillions of them, more than I think are there even grains of sand in the whole wide world. Those screens are everywhere. Those tiny little diodes collected together on a screen system, they make up our world. We have more screened surfaces in our quote unquote natural worldscape than we do nature these days, especially when you're in a big city. My God, everywhere you look, the billboards are electronic. Every welcome, you walk into the welcome sign itself is electronic. You go into McDonald's, they don't have, the menus aren't actual text anymore. It's these screens that are projecting the menu in so they can rotate it out very quickly or whatever. It's all graphics. It's all light-based graphics. And that is exhausting. I mean, you can feel it now. You can feel it.
When you're on low percent, you can kind of feel the energy it takes to just look at your screen, doesn't it? I think because I'm so low, I'm in the red bar.
Yeah, you've gone from yellow to red, bud. Yeah, you're about to turn off.
Normally, like in the past, like say I have like a flu-y kind, I would usually just lie in bed and watch YouTube videos or whatever. But I can't even do that.
This feels different, right? This feels different. So Les had a similar thing. After I said that I had my sickness, and my sickness came on when I had traveled back from Malibu. I'd had my dive tribe adventure in Malibu. It was amazing. Just an incredible time. I really felt like I had spiritually and emotionally and I'd really centered myself. I had gone, some people are like, oh, I want to go on vacation to recharge. I really did. I recharged my batteries, for lack of a better. I recharged emotionally, physically, all the things. I really, really did. And I heard the ocean, all these things that I felt that I knew, like I just knew that I needed to do. I checked all those off my list. Okay, so then I get back, and then there's this, and then boom, I am ill. And it's a type of illness that I've never experienced before. I immediately attributed it to food poisoning because I ate leftover. Of course, when I get back, I'm like, oh, what's in the fridge? Oh, this old Thai food. Let me grab that. But I've got an iron stomach. I've eaten things 3 times as old. That shouldn't have done it for me.
What do you think of it being a bug when people go, oh, he's got a bug?
I think it's something deeper. Okay, so Les told me when he got back from Ukraine, when he had his adventure, his boots on the ground, basically showing to us and the world that there was not the fighting going on in Ukraine. When he came back from that, he experienced the exact same illness. It was like a 3-day wipeout, which is what happened to me. Hit me on a Friday, recovering on Saturday, and then by Sunday I was still really low energy, but I could at least move about, and that was kind of my first day of feeling back to somewhat normal. Then by Monday I was great. So it was really like a 3-day intensive recovery, but by the 4th day I was totally good. And that's what he said, that he had a similar, what felt like an acclimation, his body reacclimating to this reality. And there's something to that. The whole idea of quarantine, which we became very familiar with this word quarantine, when lockdowns, we're familiar, we've heard the word, we know what the word is. But the word quarantine actually goes back to sailors. And if you believe in history, it goes back to the sailors back in the 1700s, 1800s. They would actually have to stay 40 days at sea in harbor before they would go on to shore in whatever new destination they arrived in. And they did this because there was a sickening, a poisoning that would happen inside the body when you arrived in a new land and you had not acclimated to the land itself, the frequency of the place. There was like an electromagnetic sickness to the frequency. And you had to like adjust your vibe for 40 days. You had to become reacclimated with the frequency of the place. And so that process took about 40 days. And then once that happened, then you could get on land and you were good to go. You could move about without this sickness. And maybe there's something to that. Maybe, I don't know. I think that when we go through, I mean, I'm thinking of myself. I just got off this weekend. We'll get back to this, but I had my first psychedelic experience, my fourth attempt, finally worked. I'm so excited to talk to you about that, but we'll table that for now. But I think that there is something that happens when we are going, not just traveling location wise, but when we are traveling energetically, when we are maneuvering within this realm, whatever this realm actually is, but whenever our consciousness, wherever we are reaching new states within ourselves, I think that there's an acclimation process. There's a sickness. There's a sickness, an illness that we can feel, maybe because we've moved too fast between planes. Maybe we've roamed too quickly from point A to point Z in our understanding and where our consciousness exists within this realm, and in our human body systems, in this body systems, it feels like a seasickness. It feels like
that's kind of the feeling. Yeah. So like your head, like what's the word when you're like vertigo kind of feelings,
dizzy.
Yeah.
Really, no, the inability to orientate, to feel oriented, to feel.
Do you know what I thought
solid.
as well? It's kind of like news today. There's going to be a fourth jab, isn't there? It's like news over here. There's going to be a fourth jab.
Fourth jab. So that just came out today. I guess the rhetoric over where you are is ramping up again.
Maybe there might be people out there that's had 3 jabs and maybe feel like I do today, and then be like, I need that fourth one to get rid of this, so I don't get this ever again.
I don't like that I felt sick during this time, because I've been so proud, like this whole time, 0 jabs, 0 sicknesses, 0 anything during this quote unquote deadly global pandemic. I felt so fortunate to just be, healthy and whole. And then
through all that, we can
train.
forget that we can get sick anyway. Do you know, we've talked about this before. You can get sick. You're supposed to get sick.
Illness is a sign of a healthy body system. You're not supposed to be in a state of constant illness. That is a system that is overtasked. But when you have a strong immune response, and that usually comes in the form of fevers, aches, chills, cold and flu-like symptoms, that happens whenever our immune system is tested. It sends all of these basically inflammatory responses all over our body, and we register those as these cold and flu-like symptoms. They're ubiquitous. They happen with. I mean, there's countless diseases that present quote unquote diseases. I don't believe in viral disease, but there's thousands of ailments that present with these specific immunoresponse symptoms, because ultimately it's just our immune system doing its thing. We get a fever. We get a fever because we're basically heating our system from the inside. We're raising our vibration. Heat is vibration, and we are raising the vibration of our body system when we up the internal heat system. And I think what that's doing is pushing out low vibration entities, low vibration, rebalancing out whatever low vibration experience was roaring through our body. We heat that up. We heat it up. We get our base body temperature up. We re-equalize to, the nice and balmy 98.6, whatever that is. But fever in heightened degree within the body is a natural, normal response. It kicks us on our ass, and then we have like the expellant experiences, the sneezing, the coughing, when you're getting all that phlegm out. I didn't actually experience that with I didn't really have any like cold symptoms.
That's kind of not me that either. I've kind of got a little bit of a cold symptoms, but I think it's just more through just like tiredness myself.
Are you feeling anything in your ears? Are you feeling anything in your ears?
Yeah, it feels like when you're on an airplane, and it's your ears kind of
That's
pop.
me too. Yes, my ears, like this equilibrium, this need to pop. I feel like I've been underwater that's one that hasn't actually left. That experience, that feeling, that sensation that I'm underwater. It's one of my ears, and I feel like I'm constantly underwater, and I'm just about to go deep enough to where my ear will pop, but it never really gives me that
Talking
satisfaction.
of sick, the Queen is sick again and is not attending. like a parliament thing for the first time ever again.
Yes, I read about that. And this is not her first
Oh no, there's been a few now. This
miss.
First time ever is this year, isn't it? You know, like, of missing things.
Yeah. So what's the one today? She's missing. It's not the Jubilee. What? Because that was her birthday. What is it?
The State Open of Parliament. It's called.
And she's never missed.
Never missed. And they're
saying it's mobility issues, right? Mobility.
I think so. Yeah. But I've seen there's quite a few people out there like predicting the Queen's death for the 20th of May. I've seen a few people, The Illusion, who come on our show, done it, but there's also been a few different like kind of people on YouTube putting this.
So what is it about 520? What is it about?
I'm not sure. I've not looked into it enough to see, because I've seen too many people talking about it. It's like when you see quite a lot of people saying it, I kind of like just like go over my head a little bit, really. You know, okay. I've not looked into why it's the 2-5.
Well, let's take a step back. The Queen is predicted to die on the 20th of May. However, it's all story. The Queen is a character. She's a fictional character and always has been. She's a figurehead, and there really is. We've explored this extensively.
Yeah,
we've actually done. My favorite exploration is on Ella Slack. She is the Queen's stand-in. She's the Queen's body double. It's not a secret. She's actually known for this. Like it's a position that she has held for the vastness of her adult life. She plays this version of the Queen, and in an official capacity. And now what that means is she does all of the Queen's appearances before the Queen does. She's the one the day before or in preparation of the event, whatever the event is. Every single public appearance of the Queen, in quotes, every single public appearance of the Queen is pre-routed, pre-mapped, stage played by the Queen's physical body double. She's the same height, same weight, same basic physical.
Nobody really gets close to them, do they? Do you know?
Right. And she does this, and this is anybody can look this up, and this is not a secret. This is her job. She literally, and they say it's safety precautions and safety measures. They're going to need someone. It's like a dress rehearsal for a play. You know, they need to sit in the audience and watch the players on the thing to see if anything goes wrong, like from the audience perspective. And so the security teams, they set up the entire event as it will be for the Queen. She walks. She does exactly what the Queen theoretically would do.
Meets the crowds and
greets the crowds. They have the crowds and everything. It's completely. It's a full dress rehearsal. Full on. It's the exact same event. And when you understand that this actually happens, when they have this full event prior to what we are told is the real event, you begin to ask some questions and you begin to see things a little bit differently. And what I understand is Ella Slack is the Queen. Everything that she does is then reanimated, reconfigured using technology so that what we see through our screens is a projection of the Queen doing exactly what Elisa did.
See.
Yeah. It's just she's already done it.
Quote,
she's
real Queen. We see
quote,
that,
unquote,
don't we, on
Queen.
Screen, yeah.
It's just an identity. And Rambo, you said it. Nobody really gets close enough to the Queen to see if that's her or not, or if that's just some hobbly old woman wearing a hat, shuffling around, shaking a few hands. Does anybody really get their hand shaken at these things? I don't know. I don't think so. But we see on TV, we see it in our newspapers, we see it all over the social medias. We see these events taking place, and they're waving from the royal balconies, and they're walking the royal promenade, and there's throngs in the crowd just screaming, oh, they're so excited. But are they close enough to really see the face of the person who's a football field away?
No, I don't think they ever get close enough to see. But then they would go back home and rewatch it maybe on TV.
Yeah. And she'll have the same outfit on. It'll be that purple hat or, whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, I was there. She looks, she looks so beautiful or whatever. She's so regal. She's the queen. And all they saw was a dress rehearsal. And you've actually experienced this before. Which royal was it when you were at school and you?
Oh, Prince Charles. It was. Yes, it was all everyone round them. It was at this college event, so the college took us, and it was like crowds of people around him, but he was also he was behind fences at like little rails anyway, so nobody could like run up to him, But it's like shaking hands and stuff. But I couldn't get close enough. But I left there feeling like I'd just seen Prince Charles.
Yeah, you do. You get the feeling that, and in your mind, it's even closer than what you actually do. Like you left with a sensation that you had personally met Prince Charles, which isn't.
Even though I didn't shake the hand. I was there. I could see the figure walking around, but that's about it really. I could just see through the crowds of people,
Yep. And that mirrors my experiences with celebrities. I've had my brush with a few of them, a notable one being Lindsay Lohan. I actually encountered her a couple of times back in the heyday of 2007 in Hollywood, and when she was like at her absolute pinnacle of being a hot mess. And I had one instance that I really truly believed that I had like met and become friends with Lindsay Lohan. But in reality, all that had happened was I saw a Tasmanian devil spin into the club, spin around, spin to the bathroom, spin back out, spin somewhat near me, and then spin out. And it took me many, many years. Okay, and after that night, I was like, I'm best friends with Lindsay Lohan. I danced with her, blah, blah, blah. And so that was in my head. But when I really deconstruct it, I didn't see Lindsay Lohan at all. I didn't encounter truly, physically, this person. I just had the experience of what I was told was Lindsay Lohan. And when I really look back, like, not at one point in my mind's eye do I have a clear vision of her face. It was really just more of her whole persona, the hair, which was like flaming red, impossible to miss, the whole persona. She was just moving so fast. Of course, the whole thing was her doing drugs, and so she was in and out of the bathroom like 10 times. I mean, she was only there at the club for about 30 minutes, and the majority of it was her going in and out of the bathroom with an entourage. She was always surrounded by people. She was on the dance floor for just a moment, but the way she moved around, she like bumped into enough people to make them feel like myself that we had danced with Lindsay Lohan, and then she was gone, like as quick as she had arrived. And it really took me until I woke up, until all these years later. This was, my heydays. 2007 was a long time ago, and it took me a really, really long time to realize that I actually did not have any experience with a celebrity. It could have so easily been a double, just an entity, a character, an identity to further the narrative, which at the time was very strong, that Lindsay Lohan was this out of control drug, she was just this celebrity gone wrong. At the time, like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears was having her breakdown at the same time. This is the time that Paris,
I was just about to mention her. Have you seen Britney now posting all the naked pictures?
Oh boy.
And it seems to be the same picture though as well. Do like that's what I've seen it pop up on. I've not logged in Twitter for a while, and I looked there, and it said
fans are asking Britney Spears to stop posting.
But there was one the other weekend she was stood with it holding this dog naked as well. Do like he. Shim.
Oh God, Britney Spears. I don't think that Britney Spears is a real entity either. I think Britney Spears is a character that's been played by multiple actors over a lifetime and had an identity projected on that we see through our screens on the cover of magazines. We are presented with a Britney, and that's a packaged illusion. It's an illusion. And I think what we're seeing now, because when you really look at all those when you look at her various posts on Instagram, and trust me, I've gone down this rabbit hole, she looks different. Like she just looks like a different actor. Teeth are different. Physical, just the musculature, the morphology of her face is different. And they're like, oh, well, she's just getting older. She's aging. I don't think it's that. I think that that's an easy way to explain it away. Oh, she just looks different because she's gone insane and come in and out of insanity quite a few times, and that can change your appearance. But I believe that what is happening is our biggest idols, the people that are put on the highest of pedestals, the unreachables, Britney Spears being one of them. She is a supernova, a star that burns so bright, but is ultimately designed to implode. That's what a supernova does. A spectacularly bright star in the sky that we can marvel at. And then the only option is for it to go out in a fiery crash.
Yeah, burn out.
And that's what these stars do. And Britney Spears is the new Marilyn Monroe. She is physically based off Marilyn Monroe. Her story is shades of Marilyn, this extreme idolatry mixed with just the most, it's like just an extreme sadness, just a sadness to the life. You know, when you really deconstruct Britney Spears' life, it's just sad. It's just, it's kind of sick and it's sad. I mean, the conservatorship, she's essentially a prisoner in her own life. Again, I don't believe that there is actually a Britney Spears being held captive in this scenario. I believe that it's all narrative around this character. I also don't believe that Marilyn Monroe was actually a real person. I think that she was a character that was played by multiple Hollywood starlets that had similar physical features, Jane Mansfield being one of them, very similar looks, and then a facial projection is mapped on, just like we see with Snapchat filters. You know, instead of puppy dog ears, you know, it's an entire face. It's an entire identity. It's an entire face. And people are like, oh, well, they couldn't have done that back then. Guys, they can do anything, anytime. The technology that we
don't believe they can do it through like kind of Instagram and stuff. You know, oh, it's like because it's just film looking like it's on a mobile phone or whatever. People don't think that it could be done because it's on social media.
The biggest takeaway from me is the understanding that this technology, the technology that we understand as modern tech, has existed forever. For as long as this human experience has been unfolding, which I don't think is all that long, this iteration. I think it's just a couple hundred years. I think that we started, this version of us, of humanity, I think started in the 1800s with our lost generation. And then we've been kind of improving, upgrading with each gen, our capacity to understand the world around us. As the technology gets doled out to us over time in these very calculated drips and drabs, and then the world is shaped around these technologies, and then the world is shaped pre the technology so that we will desire the technology more. You know, the reason we're so obsessed with our Instagrams and things is because over time we've been slowly prepared for this. You know, my grandmother doesn't use social media, and if I gave her my Instagram right now and said, "Grandma, have fun," like she'd probably last about 2 minutes. Like it just doesn't. She doesn't get it. She doesn't want it. She hasn't been primed for this.
They give us like basic ones, didn't they, to begin with? Like the first one I ever used was called Face Party. It was called.
Ooh.
And then they up it, then it's Facebook, and then they make it. Then you leave that because that's better, and then Instagram comes up, that's better, and Twitter.
Did you do MySpace?
Better.
Did you have a MySpace?
No, I never made a MySpace. No.
My first one was Friendster. Friendster was my first social media. That was when I was in college. That was 2003. The fall of 2003 was my first semester in college, and I remember getting on Friendster, and I connected with quite a few people. I was kind of a loner. I've always been weird.
Wasn't it? Do you remember chat rooms? Like, did they even do that anymore? I don't know.
I guess when I really look back at it, my first social media experience was AOL Instant Messenger, chatting with my friends, and we could live in that world. That was my first experience. I could just do it for hours and hours and hours inside that virtual experience. I lived, you know, I felt like I was having a robust life affirming experience within the imaginary walls of a chat room or a little chat box with your instant messaging. And that was what I really understood as the internet. I hadn't gone to the internet yet. I didn't know that the internet existed outside of AOL. I thought AOL was the internet. And so that wasn't college. I was like middle school that I started chatting online and stuff like that. But then college with the social media, and then I was in college as well when Facebook started. And at that time, you actually had to have a .edu account. You actually had to be in a university at the very precipice of Facebook when they were just rolling it out to other schools, because it started at Stanford and then it rolled out to other colleges within the private echelon, like Harvard. I think other Ivy Leagues got it, and then they rolled it out to other colleges and universities, major university networks, and then it was other schools, and like they just kept opening, and then eventually everybody could be on Facebook. But for a stretch, I remember feeling like I was in on this very special, very cool. I was like, this is the future. Facebook is the future. And I remember back then it was called the Facebook. And it operated very differently than it does now. But it was definitely a way to connect, to find and connect with individuals. And they had a messaging component, and you could message people, which is kind of, the messaging component was borrowed, I think, from everything, the chat rooms and everything. Like we feel when the anonymity between our screens and ourselves, when that wall is up, when we feel that we've got this anonymous interplay between us, this whole vast universe of the internet, we feel like on one side and whoever we're chatting with is on the other side, there's a freedom that happens psychologically within that, and we can be more ourselves, typing versus talking. I think that there's something to be studied there about language and about what we understand as privacy and freedom and all of this stuff. But yeah, I definitely remember feeling like I made more friends, even in college, when you're supposed to be like out and about socializing. I actually met many of my, what I consider now to be friends. I met them through these social networks. I did not meet them in, well, some of them I guess I did, but like the majority of people that I remember meeting and becoming my friends early in college, I had met through these systems. I was just really comfortable with the chatting versus talking.
Like you said the other week, in person, it's not the set. It's easier to talk sometimes, isn't it?
I have a hard time. I'm a loner. Like I get social anxiety really quickly. I feel like, and I think it's because of the way that just I was raised and the job that I've had. Just something about it. There's like a falseness and a fakeness that I'm still trying to remove from how I operate. I feel like there's like a side of me that turns on, like I have to please everybody, like, oh, hey, oh. I have to be like a certain version of myself when I'm in a group of people, versus if I'm just conversing one-on-one through the magic of the internet. I can be my true self when I am communicating through this device, through the computers, through my phone or whatever. But when I'm in person, I feel like almost like I have to put on a different version of, like, a different me. And I don't even actively, consciously do it. It's like all of a sudden I'm on autopilot and I feel myself powering up for this social display. I don't really know how to it's something comes over me, and the people-pleasing element of my brain turns on. The real me kind of goes into the wings of the theater, and I am this other version of myself when I'm around people, and I'm still learning to be my true self.
It's like we're all actors.
We are
in a way.
We're all actors in our meat suit costumes. Oh my God. Okay. This brings me to my psychedelic experience.
Yeah, I was just gonna say then, how did it come about?
Okay, so this was number 4, my attempt number 4. I've attempted 3 times to reach a psychedelic state, only with mushrooms. I don't think that I'm an acid girl. I don't even, just the word acid sounds like my brain's going to be fried up. I don't even want to go there. And I do know that mushrooms can give you this very robust psychedelic experience. And so that's what I've wanted to do. Okay. And I've never purchased mushrooms. They've always been gifted to me. And I feel like that is a special part of it as well. But anyway, this was my fourth time of mushrooms being gifted into my person. And it was on Sunday, and Sunday here in the United States was Mother's Day. And because of some scheduling stuff, I ended up staying this weekend by myself here. I didn't go see my mom. I'm doing that in a couple weekends. But I realized I had the Sunday to myself. I had nothing to do, nothing. It was a beautiful day. And I was like, I'm gonna do those mushrooms today. And, I had just tried a couple weeks prior, but it was unsuccessful. And so every time I've tried mushrooms, I just wait for the effects to kick in, and they just don't. And I had begun to think that I was maybe immune to psychedelics. I was like, surely I am too psychedelic already. So this time I did everything right. I didn't eat. I took the most amount I've ever tried. It was almost 3 grams. My last attempt was 2 grams, which is a lot, but I had eaten. So I feel like that counterbalanced. So this time, empty stomach, good dose, just complete, like a free day ahead, no cares in the world, nothing. And I was ready. And that beautiful day in nature. So what I did is I went for a walk, and I actually took them on the walk. And because I remember you had said, like, kind of getting out in the nature.
Yeah,
it helps you. You go into your back garden. It helps it kind of kick in. So yeah,
add a bit of music and.
Yeah, so I just chewed them. I chewed them up and just chewed them really, really well. Kept chewing, and because I read that your pre-digestion, your teeth actually mashing them up, that helps kind of expel some of the psychedelic material within the. Anyway, so I did that. 30 minutes go by. I'm not feeling anything, but I keep having the sensation to look at my hands. For whatever reason, I keep looking at my hands. Every 5 minutes or so, I'm just compelled. I don't know what it is. I'm just compelled to look at my hands. Look at your hands. Look at your hands. Look at your hands. So still nothing's happening. An hour goes by, and I'm starting to feel like all the other trips. Like, an hour's gone by. I don't feel anything. This is just another one, just like another wasted. All those mushrooms are just wasted again, man. And then all of a sudden, I look at my hands one more time, and my hands have begun to change. My hands, I can see on the palms of my hands, I can see this almost like a motherboard. I can see all of this energy, this circuited energy running through my hands. My hands, the palm. The skin on the palm of my hand has essentially turned into what I would think that I would see if I opened my computer, like the wiring and the circuits and just the way little circuits are drawn on these motherboards. I was able to see that, like, through the skin. And I remember thinking, like, oh shit, okay, this is psychedelic. This is not normal. I think I have entered. Psychedelics have entered the chat.
Was you still out on your walk at this point?
I had made it home. Yeah. I was sitting out on, I've got this little balcony that kind of overlooks my little front area. And I was sitting on the balcony I have this little porch swing, and just sitting up there, the breeze was coming. It just felt the trees, that was going, like, just everything visually it looked beautiful. It felt beautiful. I was like, this will be a really comfortable place to be for a while. So at that point, I was swinging on the swing, and I looked at my hands, and I saw all this circuitry running through, and I knew that the psychedelic experience had begun. So I was like, okay, let me look at something else. I still very much had my presence of mind at this point. And I looked at the bricking on my apartment, this brick column, and the brick had begun to melt. The brick was melting in front of me. Like, I was seeing all of the material, the brickwork. It was just morphing and melting, and then going back up, and then melting again, and going back up, and it was moving. And I looked at the tiles on the ground, and there was this like haze. The wind was kind of moving this like dust, like pollen. That it's spring, everything's spring. There's pollen everywhere, but this like thin kind of sheet of pollen it's like a dust, like a yellow dust that had collected on the tiles of the balcony. It was moving in this beautiful dance, like it was a dance. Everything was a dance.
With the music, if you have the music on, it kind of looks like it's moving to the music. Like, do you know, like?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing here is I was not listening to music active. There was not any external
you were just
music.
watching, and it was in a dance kind of.
But the music was, music played the whole time for me, but I didn't listen to music. The music was created in my head. The entire time that I was tripping, two things stood out to me that I was not expecting. The first thing was language. Something in me unlocked, language completely unlocked in my brain, and I was fluent in Spanish for the entire trip. Most of the dialogue in my head was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I speak a little bit, un poquito español. I speak just a little bit. I learned Spanish. We have to learn Spanish in schools. You have to, so I had years and years and years and years and years, even college level Spanish and some French, but I am very good with language. I moved around a lot as a kid. I spoke languages as a child. I have kind of like a linguist. I pick up languages really quickly. I speak a little bit of Korean as well. Like if I'm enmeshed in a language, I will pick it up very, very, very quickly. The language part of my brain is always been really, really fast. Even as an adult, I can pick up new languages very quickly, which is something that they say is very hard to do. But the fact that my inner dialogue was Spanish during a majority of the trip, and also Spanish guitar. For whatever reason, it sounded like there was Spanish guitar coming through an old crackly radio the whole time, and just this beautiful, almost like an old movie, set in.
It's in the background.
It was just in the background, like the soundtrack to an old movie coming through, it sounded like the crackle of an old style radio, and it followed me wherever I went. It was just in me. The radio receiver was in my head, and the Spanish was so strange, and I kept okay. So throughout the trip, throughout my experience, what I kept feeling was an onboarding of new consciousness. I would have this like rolling sensation in the back of my neck and spine that whenever I was like once I realized I was tripping, I was like, okay, just feel everything. Don't try to explain it all. Don't try to understand it all. Just feel it. And actually that was kind of a hallmark myself throughout the trip. Like me and my consciousness separated. And I was guiding myself through it. And I kept saying, quit trying to explain it. Like in my mind, I was like, what am I going to say on Realize Radio? What am I going to say on Realize Radio? And the other me, my guide me, kept saying, get the fuck out of here with that. Like, don't even think, like there's no words.
It.
Just enjoy it. There's not even words. Just know there's not even words to truly explain this. Just be in it, experience it, feel it. Okay, so the language was level 1. So language and music, that part of my brain cracked open, completely opened up. The language barriers that I have on my operating system, which is basically, modern English, that's my barrier, that's my mother system, my mother language. And that's really all I know when I'm in this state. But that broke open, and it unlocked a whole other host of language, which is essentially an operating system. And so I achieved early on in the trip, I achieved a level up on my operating system of language, and it was opened up to multiple languages. I was even conversing so Spanish and Korean are two, other than English, are the two languages that I have the most conversational skills in. And I would not say I'm fluent. I would say that if you put me in the middle of Korea or Mexico, I would be totally, totally lost. But in this experience, it was fluid and fluent, what I was hearing and what I was able to conjure in my mind. And I didn't hear any English the whole time, other than myself saying, don't try to explain it. Like, that was the only, myself as an English guide. The rest of it was kind of outside of the bounds of what I understand to be my language. Anyway, okay, so level 1 was getting above language. And then I felt another wave of consciousness separation. And that's the only really way I can describe it, is I was unhinging my consciousness, decoupling my consciousness from myself, and then another consciousness, a different, possibly greater consciousness, was coming on board. I was letting it come in and take over. I don't know if that was the consciousness of the mushroom, if the mushroom itself has its own consciousness that I was now able to experience, or if this was more of a collective conscious, if I was like tapping into a much broader shared consciousness that just is, that just exists inside and outside of us at all times. We just aren't able to tap into it for whatever reason. Okay, so within this space, within this next, after I had been like, oh cool, the walls are melting, oh cool, I'm hearing Spanish guitar, oh cool, I'm completely fluent in Korean and Spanish in my head. Once I kind of oohed and awed about that, I felt another wave coming on, and this one took me to the back rooms of my human body system, the machine of me. I got to look at all the mechanics and wiring of it from a distance. The one thing that the hallmark of this experience was I felt like I was between worlds. I felt like I was between this world and whatever world was projecting this world. I was in this in-between crawl space. And I was actually viewing everything from the mechanics of my machine. So when I was looking around, I actually visually saw the wire mesh, the geometry of my perspective. I actually saw the mapping, the projection mapping of myself as the camera point, as like the point zero, the camera taking in all of everything in every direction you look. It doesn't matter what you're looking at. It doesn't matter where you are in space and time. If you look to your left and then you look up and then you look around, you're going to ingest a mapped version of the world that is like perfectly projected in 3D space for distances and shadows and depth. And it's all mathematics. It's all mathematics on how things, if something's X yards away, it's going to appear at a certain height and angle and everything. And like Vanishing Point, if you look at something so far away, it's going to feel like it's gone because it's vanished. But that's just it hasn't actually gone anywhere. It's just a matter of rays and angles and how our
I think that's a great way of explaining it. Like you said, like you're in between two. That's a great way of explaining it. I think like you're in between this world and something else.
I truly felt, and it was like okay. And also at this point, I completely left the physical world. I was very aware of that. I was just sitting on this bench outside. I was sitting on my little swing bench, and my body had gone into a catatonic state. I don't know if this is common but I was no longer moving. I had gone into this immovable state. I was actually like, I was like a rubber dummy sitting on a bench. I was not moving at all. I was barely breathing. My eyes had almost rolled back into my head. And I left this world and just went in for a couple of hours. I completely left the physical world and went into my brain world. And everything that I was seeing, everything that I was experiencing, it was like a lucid dream. What I can equate it to, the only thing that I can compare it to is when you're in a lucid dream and you realize that you're dreaming, and then you test something. You're like, oh, can I feel this? I know I'm dreaming, but can I feel this? Does this feel real? And then you touch the wall. And in my dream, yeah, I test if I find myself lucid dreaming, which is pretty rare. But I will test things. I'll feel the wall, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can really feel it. I know I'm dreaming, but I can feel the texture of the wall. I can press against the wall and feel the pressure. I can really feel. I can feel like in a haptic suit for these VR experiences. You put on this suit and you put on the VR goggles and you can see and feel in real time. The sensations on your skin are so real that it feels like you're actually experiencing that thing. It's just a sensation. When you're asleep, you're actually not physically, your hand's not against the textured wall feeling it. The synapses in our brain can't tell the difference. Anyway, okay, so I entered into this lucid dream state. I was completely out of my body. My body was just stuck and frozen. And I went into this new 3D mapped world and existed within there for really just a couple of hours. That was the remainder of my trip. I was no longer interested in seeing the walls melt, seeing this physical world. I was not interested.
You've gone past.
I went past
that. Yeah.
I was not interested in looking at the trees and seeing how trippy they were. I was not interested in looking at the walls and seeing them melt. I was no longer interested in seeing the floor dance. That felt like level 1 shit.
Yeah.
Especially when the new and I wasn't in control of any of this. I was like, okay, that was level 1 here, and now I'm on level 9.
How long was the whole thing in? Did it feel like
5 to 6 hours? About. I ingested at 11:22. And I was done by about 5 o'clock. And there was no remnant. I wanted there to be some sort of like trippy remnant. I kept looking at the wall, waiting for it to start melting again, kept looking at my hands.
Just gone.
It was just gone.
One of the things I've only ever spoke about them being good. Do you know what I mean? And having a good trip. But no one really ever speaks about having what they call like a bad one, do they? Like I'd say the majority are good. Like I had one bad. Ish.
Okay, so you've had good trips up until now,
always,
right? Okay,
yeah.
Always. Oh man. Okay.
And it was good. It was going well. It's going brilliant actually. And
what time of day? Walk me through your day.
It was about 4 p.m.
Okay.
Deck chair out in the garden, chilling, and I had about 7 grams maybe.
Okay, like so that's way more than I had.
Yeah,
but you're also way more than me. You also are a boy.
Yeah, so I had half, and then there's kind of like, I could feel some. So then I just thought there's only that little bit, and I don't want to have them again. Like I feel like I don't want them for a bit now.
Yeah.
So I just had the rest of them, and then I just sat in the garden and just like chilling out, and then the sky is all doing all the nice stuff for me again, and it's all really nice. And it kind
of you see symbols in the sky. Did you see Celtic symbols again, like the crosses and stuff?
No, it was more like a maze shape. But what was weird is that I had like these 2 shadows appear in the corner of my eyes. And when I looked, they'd gone. But I've never feel like I've proper
figures,
hallucinated.
Like
people, people like figures. And honestly, the sky was doing all the shapes, the clouds and everything. But I didn't feel like it. It was a bit weird, really. And then I got this urge to like kind of hold my breath. I don't know why.
Ooh.
So I held my breath and I felt like I just could still breathe. It was weird. And I went up and I looked down on myself. It was just weird. It was the weirdest experience ever. Like I looked down on I seen me in the chair, like my actual body in the chair. It was just weird.
And this was the first time you had left your body.
I felt like I got this such a weird feeling, like that's what actually happened to me, and I seen it. It was like, and I could breathe clearly though. This is what was weird. Yeah. I could breathe everything. It's such a strange thing. Then it kind of chilled out because it kind of could go on and off. So like that was all good. I didn't mind that. It was just weird, like something I won't forget anyway for sure. Yeah. And like all the trees, there was like trees in my garden, right? So I've got this one tree, it's like flicked, but it's like bent, and it's like got all nice blossoms on it and stuff. Behind it are 3 other trees. It was weird, and it was the colours coming from them was so crazy. And I took a video.
Were they vibrant? Was it extra vibrant?
Yeah, it was like they was making some sort of noise. It was weird. Honestly, it was not like an experience I've never had before. Anyway, definitely.
Oh, they were making like a noise?
And I took a picture of it, and it looks like I was looking at it at the time. Like one tree was like flicking its hair back to like, and there's these 3 perfect trees next to it.
You have to show me. I want to see that. Does it look psychedelic at all when you look back on it now?
No, when I look back at it, like, what was I looking at?
What was I seeing? Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's just a weird one. Then he had like these, again, it was like I was behind myself. It was like I was behind me, and I was making these hand shapes, weird hand shapes that wasn't just like random though. They didn't look random. It looked like it was a pattern. Like, honestly, it was weird. I've asked a few other people. I've searched like through Reddit on it, and there is other people that have had these kind of experiences where they're out of the body from it.
And so you were like your consciousness was floating outside of you,
behind
above
my
you,
head. I could
behind
see
you,
my head. Yeah,
the back of your head, like you could see.
And I was in my house at this point, so
Okay.
I'd gone into my house, and
Yep.
yeah,
And
it was
then
just a bit.
you were watching yourself start to make like.
Yeah, so I
like,
walked past the mirror. Yeah, so that's another bit. So so I was and the handshake. It was kind of like this, but it was like I couldn't even repeat it.
It looks kind of like you're doing fake sign language, like you're like
it was
twisting.
just like that. It was like my wrists and stuff.
Yeah, your
going.
wrists.
But it was like
Repetitive.
repeated.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
And were
like
you
I was
watching your hands?
Me do that
like,
and couldn't. Yeah. But
so
I wasn't stopping them.
Were you looking at your hands? Could you see yourself?
I was looking at my hands, but not through my eyes.
Weird.
It was like a weird one. And kind of when I look back, I felt like, have you ever seen that movie Being John Milosevic, where like you can people pay and you go in and they can go behind his eyes and control his stats? That's what I felt like it kind of was.
That you kind of felt that you were in your robot, your meat suit.
Someone else had paid to go through John Milosevic because he's a that's like kind of, it just felt weird, like
your consciousness left your
was
body.
out of my body the whole time. It was weird. And then it was like, it was honestly, and then even that wasn't too bad, but it was more that I didn't have kind of like the control. So it sounds like crazy, but all along as well, these two dark shadows was there the whole time in the corner of my eyes.
So like I could at the very side of your periphery, you could see like almost as if someone was sitting on your shoulder.
Yeah, but I couldn't see a person. I couldn't see a person. Was something there. It felt like it was watching the whole experience with me.
You got the sensation that they were watching, whatever it was on both sides was watching.
Yeah, and it was crazy at the time. I was still able to think, what is this? What is it? I wasn't like out of it or anything. Like I could still think in my head, like, what are these handshakes and stuff? Like, wow, wonder what it means. That's what I was kind of thinking. So I was like, what does it mean? You and it was just a bit of a crazy one. And it kind of, to be honest, don't think I'll be having them again for a while.
What else did you see? What else did you see that
after
was
that?
Like,
I walked past the mirror, and as I walked past, it was like half my eye was green. It looked like my eye was green. And at this time,
your eyes are blue, right? Your eyes are blue.
Yeah. One was one went to a different color. And honestly, it was like at this time I felt all right again, like I felt in control of myself and everything. And looked past the mirror, and half my face just looked messed up, like evil.
Well, one eye color was different.
Like a demon. It looked like a demon face.
Was the green eye side of your face? Was that the evil
it was
all
side? Like it was all like not my face. Like it was weird how it was like that. Like it was like, it's hard to explain, and it's something that I've not forgotten exactly as it was. And that was for about half an hour, I'd say. I was like kind of like stepping back and going back, and it was still there and stuff like that. I was like, what the fuck?
God.
But yeah, when I think back now, I'd think
that's kind of scary.
Have a little break from them. And it's not even like I've had them that often. Do you know what I mean? I think that was like my 4th or 5th time. So,
and have you ever tried and it didn't work on you, or have you always had a successful?
Yeah, I've had it once when it didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was your first time.
No, the first time worked. It was like my 3rd time. I kind of had them, and then
it just didn't kick in.
Didn't do anything. Yeah, it didn't do anything. But then, obviously, like I've never had as much as I had the other night. And do you know what? I've been watching Terence McKenna videos where he's like, if you don't have 5 grams, then they're not worth having. And I was like, what this? I'm having 7.
Rambo.
And he talked about a lot of these out of body stuff and all that, you know, from.
I would say you know what your limit is. Like you can't.
But kind of like
take off. Good to not do it. But when you do it again, don't ever do that much.
Like I took off. Now I didn't feel like I was in danger at any time. I just felt like it was just weird, where it was like something that you think maybe like I need to learn whatever it was. I feel like it was trying to teach me something. I really do feel like I was trying to be shown something, like from all the experience.
Think? Yeah, what do you?
I don't know. I'm still.
Well,
I've wrote a few notes down, and I'm trying to still. Because I wrote notes down at the time in the mirror, because I was writing it down. It was weird. And I've got them in there and I've read them, and they're kind of a bit like, So I'm going to keep on trying to work it out. It's like.
I think the most fascinating part that you've told me is the periphery people.
That was there the whole time. The periphery people,
It reminds me of,
at certain points, it was coming further forward and then back, but it was definitely like a figure, not it was like
like an entity,
shadow,
like a person, like a shadow
entity,
person.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's what it felt like.
it wasn't just like a shape.
You could feel it as well. You could feel
Energy.
it around you, and and I've kind of looked into it a lot, and I know you can't say much from Reddit comments, but there seem to be like other people who have witnessed these kind of things on them as well.
Reminds me of the cartoon trope, or just the trope of devil on one
spirit
shoulder.
Guides, they call them.
Spirit guides, yeah, but maybe one on one shoulder and one on the other. Devil on one shoulder, angel on the other. We have the opportunity to be good and bad at all times, and it's kind of up to.
I will have them again, but probably not for a little while, I think.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try them again.
I wish I could post you some and send you to the moon. These ones.
Ooh, I don't know if I want that. This is me doing those hand symbols. Ooh.
Yeah. Do you know what is it? That one that still comes in, because I don't know what it was, and it felt.
It felt natural, right?
Yeah,
like you knew what you were doing, but you didn't know what you were doing.
But and I couldn't stop it doing it either. You know what I mean? It was like
I wonder if it has anything to do
someone
with
else do it. It felt like
language.
I was watching someone else do it through my body, like that, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, you do know how to communicate a language with your hands already. You're already, and you would have known if you were signing, right? Like you would have known if you were actually doing signing.
Because it was
so
a
you
lot
weren't
of like
signing.
with my arms and everything as well. It was weird.
Right.
It was very like, but it was how it was over and over. It wasn't like I was just going, woo, throwing my arms everywhere.
Right.
You
were, it's like you were communicating something. So
someone was.
But someone, because like you were watching yourself walk around the house or whatever.
It was weird. I was like,
who's in control?
Myself.
Who's controlling this thing right now? I'm not in there. Who's in control? Ooh. Westward Beach.
Well, like the like spiritual. They say they're spiritual kind of drug, aren't they? So maybe that's what it does. Kind of opens up.
What's your thoughts on acid? On acid-based psychedelic?
I don't think I'd
Me neither.
try them, to be honest.
Me neither.
Mushrooms is as far as it
acid just
probably
sounds
go.
bad.
Other than that, I know there's other stuff out there. I don't know what the name of it is. Is it I can't even pronounce it.
There's like lots of different plant-based psychedelics, and I know that there's like certain toad and frog like the secretions and stuff. I know that certain things can get you really psychedelic out. And then there's things like ayahuasca.
That's the one I was trying to say then.
Yeah, ayahuasca. And that's more like you can't just do that casually. Like to do ayahuasca, ayahuasca, I'm not saying it right, but I kind of think that I'm not familiar. The only thing I'm familiar is with people like going to these retreats, to do it. And it's like you have to go to a shaman, and then you're in the thing, and then it's like a whole thing. You can't really do it on your own, but
mushrooms you can. Nobody talks about a bad trip. I don't even know if that was a bad trip. When I look back, I don't know, but it just kind of didn't feel like the others. Nowhere near the others. Like the others were just great, really.
Yeah. You did have a bit of the scaries.
There's nothing memorable.
When you look in a mirror and then half your face is evil and your eye color has changed on the evil side of your face.
It wouldn't go away. And I was stepping away.
And it wouldn't go away. Oh, like trying to rub your face.
Yeah, it was back again. And it didn't go away. That was like it was my face. It was like the weirdest feeling ever, really. It was like how it was like I could touch and it felt different and everything. Like it was just weird. It was in the mirror. It was just crazy thing.
God. Maybe you're just getting more of it. Like you're getting more of the things that you can see, and it wasn't necessarily a bad. I don't know, but you're right.
I come out of it feel like it was a lesson to learn from what I kind of experienced. I feel like I got shown certain things like the holding the breath part that kept happening, like hold your breath, and it.
Yes. Oh, okay. And how the lungs, how the oxygen, you said it just felt like it was flowing so freely. You're just breathing like the most clearest breaths. Okay, so that reminds me when I was a kid, a recurring dream that I had was being submerged, finding myself submerged underwater, panicking for just a moment, because oh no, I'm underwater, and then realizing that I can breathe underwater. And then starting to take these breaths, and the sensation, the feeling of the breath, the air with the oxygen going into my lungs, it was like the clearest, most pure oxygen, most easy, pure breaths that you can experience. And that's just the hallmark of that dream. It's not just being underwater, not just breathing underwater, but how the
Lean the
ease of
breath.
breathing, the
Yeah.
clean, the fullness of the breath. I haven't had
Sounds
that dream in a
similar.
really long time, but yeah, that's interesting. Good
And
trip,
that
bad
was when
trip.
I felt like I was up and out of myself, that because I was sat on a chair, remember? So that was
Oh,
every time I felt like I was,
you're kind of
when I
like
held my breath, it was
exiting.
like I went, yeah, it was
And
like
how
when I
many
went out.
hours into your experience until you actually disconnected, like that you were watching yourself do the hand things? How long into the trip was that, do you think?
About 2.5 hours or something.
When do they say the peak time is? The peak time of the trip? Like,
I'm not sure because I've normally had them only last for 4 hours, and this lasted for about 6 hours. Like,
yeah.
and Joe, how I got you get it to stop through eating, so I ordered a big takeaway, really, just to
Yeah.
like. And as soon as he had that, I was back in the room completely.
The world already looks so psychedelic. I kept saying that to myself. I would look over at these plants, and the plants looked wild, and I was just like, they already look like that. This is what they look like. It just is wild. They've always looked like this.
I always feel
It
like
was
it
wild.
brings your attention to things that you may not normally look at, every
One thing
day.
I did notice was that all the plants were made by this like thread, like this fibrous thread. And it was reminded me of Westworld, that like fiber, that thread that gets pulled, the tendon fiber that when they're building, the opening sequence, and you can see how they build the eyeball, and you can see how they build the just like the muscle fascia and stuff. It's just this
Yeah.
thread, this 3D printer, that's just 3D thread by thread wrapping around the body and creating different elements of the body. And I noticed thread in in a lot of plants, like a thread-like thing with it. Like there was this one plant that had like an injury, for lack of a better word. Like there was this like gash on the plant, and inside the gash, I could see like this threading. She's like, "Oh, it's fixing itself up." It was kind of strange. So I did notice that. What else? I hate that you had like an icky feeling coming from it, but I do like that you feel deeply that there's something else to be learned.
Yeah, definitely. It didn't feel like, that's why I'm saying, was it bad? Because I come out of it thinking like, do you know, when you watch a movie and you can't get the story till, and then a few days later, you're like, that's what it was about.
That's what it was about. He could see dead people, or what? Yeah.
That's kind of how I've been left from it, really. Like I'm kind of like, like there was something to that holding my breath thing. That was the most where I would feel like, what's it showing me? And I kept on doing it, and it was like I was thinking to myself at the time, what?
That just
what
reminded me too. Oxygen, our breath, what we take in with our breath, oxygen is a powerful hallucinogenic in its natural, in its pure state. It can create hallucinations, and the air we breathe is a diluted state of oxygen, a diluted amount of oxygen, but it's still like we're microdosing this hallucination all the time. So maybe when you're taking another hallucinogenic, and you begin to play with your intake of this other hallucinogenic, and coming in and going out causes hallucinations. Like, so ingesting oxygen can cause a hallucination, but also withholding, like if you hold your breath for a long time, you can induce hallucinations. So it's kind of like get you all the ways. So maybe I think that interesting, something to think about. Breath work and being here.
That's what it was like. That's what I was doing then, because that's a breath. That's a thing, isn't it? Like people say, like breath work, and that maybe that's what it was. I don't know, because I've been like kind of doing that.
Do yoga? Have you ever done
No,
yoga?
no.
Maybe this is a lesson that you need to start doing some mind body breath work. You don't have to go to a yoga studio, but like just learn a couple poses and do mindful breathing. Might be just good for your overall everything. Yeah, there's something about yoga. Some people say it's like magic. It's magic, like when you move your body in certain ways and you let certain energies flow through your body, and you take the way that you breathe, and it kind of reminds me of playing a video game when you're a kid, and to get these sequences of things, it's like up, down, left, right, B, B, plus, up, down, left, right. What if there's certain things that we do and say, certain ways that we move our body that are like us pressing, we don't even realize it, but we do things in a certain way because we're initiating certain actions within the video game. I don't know. Food for thought.
And that's like kind of what, do you know what else the kind of view was in my garden when you say video game? Then it was kind of Minecrafty, like we've talked about it. It was kind of pixelated, like Minecrafty kind of feel to it.
What the most interesting thing about the experience for me is, I love to compare us to machines. I love to compare myself to a machine. The human body and the human mind is the most sophisticated machine in this realm. We get offended when someone says we're a computer or a machine, but we are. Every muscle fiber, every tendon of our body is based off like architectural principles of how mechanics, the mechanics of things, the way our circuitry within our body is no different than the circuitry of any operable electric machine.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I would do it again, and I would do a lot more. I want to
see half of your face.
I want to. Well, actually, so you said in your experience, you saw two different sides of you. You saw one side of your face appeared to be like a good, and one side of your face appeared to be an evil. Well, towards the end of my trip, I decided to look in the mirror. I was like, oh, I got to do that thing that Rambo did. And at this point, like my pupils were so big. They were like, they had taken up the entirety of my eye. I was like just two big black circles. And when I looked in the mirror, but then when I focused, so what I did is I focused on kind of my reflection. I got really, really close to the mirror, and I have this big mirror in my living room. And so, and then I kind of shielded my eyes in such a way, I kind of made goggles around my eyes so I could really only see the reflection of myself. I couldn't see the top or sides of the mirror. I kind of gave myself the sensation. And I was able to see myself I was able to see myself as if I was sitting next to myself, not as a mirrored reflection, but I was able to view. I've never been able to do this just looking into a mirror, but I was able to decouple myself, and I was able to like move into the mirror and see and be in the room of the mirror. I was able to see the mirrored place as its own realm, and I was able to be in there. I left my body. I left my consciousness decoupled from my physical body system. And once that happened, once the sensation of my consciousness leaving my physical body system, there was a light that actually left my eyes, and I looked like just a lifeless dummy, like a prosthetic dummy sitting there on the sofa for the time that my consciousness was no longer in my body, just observing my body, observing my mirror self, observing myself, watching my mirror self. I looked like for lack of a better word, like an NPC, like a life. There's no life in the eyes, like just a bodysuit, just a meat puppet. I saw myself just as a meat puppet, just hanging here in this realm, just moving. Not at that point, I wasn't moving. I was sitting on the sofa, but it was okay. This also reminds me, there were multiple times in the trip that I kind of came back to for a split second and was like, who am I? I'm not. I was identity completely decoupled from me while I was tripping. I was not myself. I was not this person with this backstory and this life that I've lived. That I could really see that as just a collection of what could be false memories. Like I was just what I believed to be myself and my story was really just like a little hard drive that you could just plug in to any old thing. And my collection of everything that I believed to be me, everything that I believed to be my history, was just a story. Was just a story that you could plug in anywhere, and then that person would be me with my story, and then you could do it to anywhere. And I felt so strongly that all of that was fiction, that what I believed is my entire life, what I believed to be all of my keystone memories, everything that really anchors me to me, childhood stuff, accomplishments as an adult, all of that was just a story. And I could see it it just didn't...
Just be plugged in.
Just to be plugged in to make me feel like I had this rich, robust life. Like it was a trick. It was a trick. I saw it. I saw what I understand as me and my history as a trick into making me feel like I was an individual. When in this experience, in this psychedelic state, I felt beyond individual. I felt like I felt like I was everywhere, everyone and everywhere in space and time at every time. Everything that had ever happened, everything that ever will happen, everybody that's ever been, everybody that ever will be was in this in-between space, was just parked.
I get that. And like you see, it's hard to really put into words in it, like
I'm
exactly
struggling.
what, yeah.
I'm struggling.
It is hard.
I am struggling.
Until you experience it, then you kind of get it. Because even now, I keep still think of my stuff. Like I reckon you'll still think of that. Like again, like, oh yeah, I remember that, from when I had mushrooms, And with it being so recent, you'll probably have more come to you from your experience, I imagine.
The one thing I really wasn't expecting was to go inward for so long of it, for hours and hours. I mean, there was really only like 1 hour. My first hour of tripping was the only time, my first and my last hour were the only time I was really looking around, looking around at the world, the world around me, trying to see what was different, how the world around me was operating differently. I thought that was going to be the whole trip, like just looking around going, wow, looking around going, wow, looking at this going, wow, looking at that going, wow. That was just a small portion of my trip. The majority of it happened when I was just sitting in this catatonic state. Just my body was completely motionless. I went inward. I don't even know if my eyes were open or closed. I think they were just open, and I was just sitting there like a dead fish or something, Who knows if my neighbors walked out and saw me out there? Who knows what they would have thought? Oh. Okay, so the other thing that I noticed that I did that I could not stop doing was contorting my body as the mushrooms were as the new consciousnesses were coming on board. I would feel this like rolling sensation within my body, and I would consciously go, let it happen, whatever it is. Welcome in, come on in. I'm letting you in. But I noticed that as they were happening, I wanted to crane my neck back and twist back and do this crazy back bend, and I was contorting my neck and my shoulders, and I could not help it. I couldn't help it. And there's this one serial killer who was known for, and I don't believe in any serial killers, but the story goes this one serial killer would contort his victims. He would bend them back over in these weird back bend positions, and he would leave them there. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's one of the big ones, like Jeffrey Dahmer or something. But I kept noticing that I was doing that. I was contorting my body into these really strange physical, I would just do these weird things with my body. And that was and then I went catatonic. After that, I just found this one position that felt like it worked for me. And I stayed in that position for 4 hours, just sitting out there on the bench, kind of swinging. And I was looking up for some of it at this white ceiling above me. But the way that the white ceiling, I realized could be absolutely anything. It was my projection screen. I realized that I was a projector. My mind was a projector. And this white screen in front of my eyes, if I looked up, it was just a white screen. It was like I was in a movie theater. In that white screen, I could project anything onto it. And just like a movie, it's just like a movie experience, and I did. And that I projected my consciousness onto this white ceiling, and I stayed in that, moved around in that for the entire time. And when I say moved around in it, I mean like a lucid dream. I left my body state, went into this projection, moved around, could feel stuff, could feel myself, feel myself moving in this in-between world, these kind of the galley between the consciousness or reality and unreality or whatever. I could feel it. Even though I was just sitting on this bench for 4 hours or whatever. It was so, I don't have words. I wish I could explain it. I really wish I could explain it fully. There is just something limiting. There's something limiting about this world. That's my ultimate takeaway from my experience is this realm is just a projection. It's all happening. Everything that we feel like is happening is just happening in our minds. It's all in the mind. And there's something, and I'm not saying that we're not real somewhere. I did keep getting the sensation of like, when I was doing those weird contortions with my body, I got the sensation that like the other me, maybe if like we're in the Matrix and my me that's in this like goo bath or whatever, waiting to be waken up, I kept having the sensation that that version of me was moving its head. You know, like I was in this space, in this body, in this time frame, in this realm, but somewhere else, I was moving me. I was like moving moving my head around. I could feel like there was a different version of me also. I was affecting that farther version. And I also got the sensation many times that I was like trying to wake a very distant me up. Like I was trapped in a dream state, that this reality is a dream state, and somewhere far away, but theoretically very close, you know, however you want to measure space-time distance, that there was another me that's
controlling you. Yeah, kind of controlling you.
Yeah, and you said it when you had your trip. There was a moment where you were watching yourself. You were like, you're decoupled from your consciousness, and you were watching yourself. You're like, who is operating? If I'm here, and me's over there, who's walking around? Who's in there? Who's in me? Who's making the decisions? I definitely experienced that. The who is
it?
Who is it? Who is it? You know, everything that this whole world is just rules based. It's just the physics of this world, the mathematics of this world. It's all just very simple rules that our computer machine has adopted and follows. And this gets back to the algorithm question from Kara S. Kara says, I'm very obsessed with the algorithm. Is it an energetic force? Is it sentient? Or is it just a scorekeeper in the machine? She goes on to say, I'm starting to think the computer is not nuts and bolts. It's a husk for a darker force. You know, I think this is such a deep question because we consider algorithms as something to be with computers only. You know, an algorithm is basically a rule that has a positive, successful outcome or an unsuccessful outcome, and it learns to operate only so it gets that either positive, if you want it, or the negative outcome. You can set to whichever one. So theoretically, a thermostat has an algorithm to where if it's X degree, it will turn on. And if it gets to X degree, it will turn off. And it knows that's the rule it follows, that's the rule it functions. That's a simple algorithm. And I think that and algorithms can get highly complex and highly complicated, but ultimately it's just a rule. And there could be two outcomes to that rule. And if it does one thing, it does one. If it does the other thing, it does the other. And it's set. And I think that our entire experience in this realm is a series of rules that we have adopted in our mind, in our operating system. The physics of this world are just rules. Things, water flows a certain way because of certain rules. I feel like all the physicality, everything that we understand as physical beings and physical entities are just properties of an algorithm. They're just following an ultimate design, an ultimate set of rules that are the highest order of the system, and everything that flows from and within the system, us, everything around us. That's also hard to explain.
Yeah. It's a good way to explain it.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
And I think that, everyone's like, this goes back to the world being flat. Is the world flat? Is the world round? I think that our world is just a plane, a plane that is mapped out, a projection plane, not an airplane, but a flat plane that is projected in 3D space that follows whatever rules it has been fed. And the modern physics of the day are what feeds our machine, what it feeds our rules of the algorithm. And I think that if those physics say that the world is round, then our world could be round. If those physics say that the world could be flat, I think that it could be flat. And a flat plane can be mapped onto any surface. I think that, based on the rules and the algorithms that it's operating on. Oh man, my language part of my brain is still suffering. I'm maybe it was all the Spanish I spoke on my trip, but I'm really, really, really having trouble connecting. This is my first time really talking since it happened. I've just been so this is kind of interesting. I'm definitely struggling with language at the moment.
More will come back to you with what actually happened, I think, as well. Like as the days go on,
I still need some time to process. I still need some time to process what's going on. And I definitely still need some time to answer Kara's question about what the algorithm ultimately is.
Definitely. I feel like my brain's just scrambled. Like, I try and think, I'm like, what? I've literally today and yesterday, I've kind of just been like.
Well, everyone who's listening, conjure up some positive healing vibes for Rambo. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I know how you feel, that it's not pleasant, but maybe you're experiencing something like a frequency shift, and that's what your body's going through.
Yeah. It's hopefully today's like the last day of it. That's what I'm kind of hoping, that I wake up tomorrow and I'm better. So that's how it kind of works. You wake up, don't you? Like, it's gone.
I know.
I'm hungry again.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I loved being hungry again because I wasn't. I lost my appetite. Like, legit. I did not want to eat anything for a couple of days. And then finally it came back and I was like, ooh, everything tastes so good. Yay. So that's fun. Well, I hope that you have a swift recovery, that tomorrow you wake up feeling back to normal, back to your old self, whatever that is, whoever we are. And okay, well, we'll catch up soon. We'll feel better, Rambo. We'll talk soon, okay?
Just speak soon.
Okay, bye.